Hey guys, it's Joette with Balloon Coach, and today, as I record this, it is December 29th, 2022, and we're going to be talking about a really important subject that you can be used any time of the year when you find yourself stuck. All right, so today we're talking about steps from going from stuck to soar, and sometimes people get in a rut and they need just a little bit of an extra inspiration, kick, motivation, and actual tools to take the next step in growing your business or maybe maintaining a certain level that you want. So I hope you grab a pen and paper to follow along so you can write some notes down as we go through this process. And then definitely ask me questions. If something specific doesn't make sense, you can type that into chat if you're watching us live, or you can open up your mic and talk. This is not just about me teaching, but it's about you sharing things that have worked well for you and for you to ask questions along the way. All right, so for anybody who has not met me before, I'm Joette. I have been in the balloon industry full time since 2003. I live in Lakeland, Florida, and so back from 2003 to 2014, I was Party People Celebration Company. And then in 2015, one of the local balloon professionals, Jonathan Gerber, asked to purchase my company at the end of 2014. So we made that official 2015. And I told him I would love to continue to work with him and be his marketing manager, but that I was ready to start BalloonCoach.com to help balloon professionals around the world grow their company. And so I got to have the best of both worlds. And in 2015, I worked as his marketing manager while starting BalloonCoach.com online resources, which we now have our Balloon Boss Mastermind program, which is a monthly training that many of you watching this are a part of. And then our Balloon Boss Summit program is my annual event that we have in Orlando every November to help people take the next step in their business. So I serve as a mentor, a motivator, and a speaker, giving you guys information on topics that I've been learning in the industry since traveling since 2003. Plus, I go outside of the balloon industry and learn from business leaders on things that we can do to grow our business. So I love imparting that wisdom and helping go on the journey with you as you grow your thriving balloon business. In our Balloon Boss Summit program for November of 2022, we did the theme Time to Soar. And this awesome backdrop was made by Chris Potts, the Time to Soar. And then the biplane was made by Tabitha Miller. And I just love this theme because I knew I wanted to use it throughout the year to help people take the next step in their business. And so I want to define what soar is. The definition of soar is to fly or rise in the air. So to fly or to rise. Another definition is to maintain height in the air without having to flap your wings or without engine power. So just to give you guys some background, my dad was a pilot. He had his own personal plane after he retired from being a captain for TWA Trans World Airlines. It's not even in existence anymore. But so as a child, I spent a lot of time in a plane. And so this metaphor really works for me. And if you need some clarification, just let me know. But the other definition of soar is to increase rapidly above the usual level. So what I want you to understand is as we're talking about soar, everybody is going to have a little bit of a different definition of what soar is for you and your business, and that's totally fine. So it might be that you're on the ground right now and you're needing to take off and to fly and rise into the air. It might be that you're wanting to go higher with your business. It might be that you're just wanting to be able to soar and be up at that altitude wherever it is, and you just want to coast without having to use additional engine power, without having to flap your wings and work really hard, that you're just wanting your plane to continue on with where you're currently at. Or it might be like, hey, I am ready to increase rapidly and go above where I'm currently at. Okay. So I wanted to make sure that I clarify for you guys that everybody has a different definition of soar. And so for you, I want you to write down what it is that you want your goals to be. All right. And as we're going through this process, I want to remind you, this is an email I'd sent out earlier, and it's a post I've been putting up on Facebook. Comparison is the thief of joy. All right? Comparison is the thief of joy. And so many times what I find in the balloon industry is we spend a lot of time on social media looking at Instagram and Facebook pages and seeing what people are doing and all the crazy videos that are out there, all the beautiful designs. And sometimes instead of focusing in on what we're doing and spending time reaching out to the clients that we need to talk to, we're too busy worrying about what somebody else is doing. And then what happens is when we're looking at those other images and we're seeing what other people are doing, we have preconceived ideas of that person's life. Like, oh, they must have a wealthy spouse that helps them have all the money for the marketing dollars or to buy that next vehicle that they bought. Or we may think, oh, those people have life really easy. Clients are knocking on their door 24/7 and they're always busy. All right. We also sometimes will look at like, oh, my work will never be as beautiful as this other person's design, or I'll never find the kind of clients who want to pay that kind of money for balloons. So what happens in the world of social media is we often have preconceived ideas of somebody else, and we don't see all the struggles because we don't put every struggle on Facebook or Instagram, right? A lot of times we're showing the pretty great stuff. And what we don't realize is sometimes that person that you're seeing being really busy, well, they might just be reposting things from the past, right? Or it might be that you don't know that that client, that person that you're following has been in the industry for 20 years. And yes, they are really busy now and they have a huge team now, but that's not how they started out. So I want to remind you through this process today is sometimes I find when I dig in and I talk to my mastermind members and to my one-to-one coaching clients, I find out that part of the reasons we're stuck in a rut is we're comparing ourselves to others rather than really focusing in on ourselves and taking the steps that I'm going to talk to you about today. All right. So you don't have to be an overseas wide body jet. All right. I want to make sure that I give you permission that you don't have to be the biggest, baddest balloon company in the world. All right. You can choose to be a 4-person Cessna. So for those of you not into airplanes, that's what my dad had after he retired. He used to fly 727s, could hold tons of people, fly them all over the country. He never flew overseas. He didn't have the big planes. When I went to China in 2008 on a balloon project, we were in a huge plane with, way more people than normally when I was flying in the United States. And it really made me think about it when I started meeting other balloon professionals, is that I think sometimes we always think we have to be this huge company, but we don't. We can make sure that we build a business that meets our needs. All right. And so for some of us, that means we're going to be a smaller business. We may continue to be home-based, or we may rent a small space. But you don't have to have the biggest warehouse. You don't have to have the largest fleet of vans to be a success. Especially as you're getting ready to soar, you get to decide what size your business is. You get to decide how high you go, and you get to decide, are you going up in your elevation, or are you at a place that you really like and you're just going to stay right where you are? All right, so I really want to make sure that as we go through this process today, that you understand that it's okay for you to define what SOAR means and what you want to accomplish in 2023. Are you guys with me? So type in, if you want to play this game, type into me where you think you're at. Are you like, you just want to be like a commercial airline? You want to be that big jet that flies overseas? You want to be small? Like, it's up to you. And you can just be big, medium, small, whatever you want. But I'd love for those of you who are joining in live right now, just to kind of chat into that. Like, or it might be that you're okay just to stay at the altitude you're at, or you're wanting to go higher, right? So kind of be in tune with what you want to be, and it's totally fine. There's no right or wrong. It's totally up to you. All right, I love it. I'm seeing domestic, I'm seeing commuter, I'm seeing I want to stay small. It's all great. It's good. It's what you want. All right. So just to kind of put perspective in place, in 2003, when I bought my business, I bought an existing company that had been a storefront, and they had closed their storefront when their lease doubled. and she was working from home, and I was renting a helium tank from her. And this was the upgrade later on. I don't have a picture of the small trailer. It used to be a 10-foot trailer and my minivan. All right, that's how my business started. And then over time, we built a 600 square foot warehouse in my backyard. So this is my backyard. There's a warehouse in the back behind the trailer. I upgraded and had a 12-foot trailer built for my business, especially put my logo on it and everything in my work. And then we had bought a larger van prior to having the 12-foot trailer. So this was my business, and I loved being home-based. I loved that I had people who could come and had the keys to my warehouse, could work when I was out at networking meetings, or could cover things when I was gone at conventions and teaching. But this was where I was comfortable at. And what had happened is my business got so busy that I felt like I was about to need to take that next step and to move somewhere else. And for me, what happened is somebody offered to buy my company, and I decided it was time for me to become a mentor in the industry. So your goals are going to be up to you and what you want. But if you wish to stay small, that is totally fine. You can still soar into the goals that you want for your business. You get to choose the altitude, and you get to choose how long that flight is going to be. All right. So I want to give you permission to be who you want to be. And as we're going through this process, I want you to remember the why. Why did you start a balloon business? This was my why. My daughter Marley, when I started my company, was 4 years old. This was our blue minivan that she got shoved in the back seat. We took out the other seats, and we would shove as many balloons as humanly possible in to go to do deliveries. All right. Anybody can relate to this? Your child disappearing in the back of your van or your vehicle with all the balloons around them. But I enjoyed that flexibility of having a business from home without having to go somewhere else to clock into work. I was burnt out as a social worker, and I needed something to be a creative outlet and to allow me to have what I thought would be more time with my family. What we then found out is they either had to work with me to have time with me. So yeah, that was a whole nother story, and we'll talk about that in another training. But what I want you guys to do today is I want you to understand that you get to choose how fast and how far and how high you fly, okay? So when you're stuck, when you're either overwhelmed because there's too much to do and too much input coming in, or you're overwhelmed because nothing's going on and you're not sure what the first right step is, it's time to make a flight plan. And again, going back to the analogy of my dad being a pilot, before he would go on a trip, he would have to make a flight plan of where he was going and where he would have to stop to get gas. And when he was in the small planes, and the same thing with the big planes when he was on the jets. You know, there were certain routes that you take, and you know at what altitude you would have to fly to get somewhere. So it's time for us at the start of a year to make our flight plan. It's a great time to do it. All right. So are you guys ready to soar? Are you ready to go forward? The number one thing, it's all about your mindset. It's up here, guys. It's what we have in our head and what we have in our heart is going to determine how far, how high we fly. All right. So I want to share this concept with you if you haven't heard it. And if you've heard it before, be a refresher. A growth mindset is about freedom, where a fixed mindset is more of a limiting belief. And so many people are naturally a fixed mindset. And so it's important for you to look at these two lists and realize where you are naturally, okay? So limiting, you avoid challenges, you give up easily, you're threatened by others' success, you desire to look smart, you feel like when you do effort, it's fruitless, you ignore the feedback from other people, and you feel like your abilities are fixed. Now, you might not have all of those, but you may have one or two, right? So like fixed abilities, that's when people say, oh, I will never be as good of a balloon artist as this person is. I'm not good at using Canva to make mock-ups. I have no computer skills. All right. So when we say those things, we are limiting our abilities. We may say, oh, well, I tried it once. I called somebody and they said no, they didn't want my balloon packages, so I just didn't call any more people. That's where we're like going, oh, when we try something, it doesn't work because we've only tried it once and then we just gave up. All right. So the other part of this is being threatened by other success. And what I mean by that is so many times in social media, we see other people being successful, and sometimes we get like mad at them or angry, like, oh, they're stealing my work. Like if it's people in the other areas, if you're watching who's in your area and you're not happy for them when they have success, there's a way to flip that and say, wow, they're being successful. I can be successful too. So we're going to jump over to the growth mindset. And the growth mindset allows for freedom. It lets you persevere in the face of failures, that when something doesn't work out right, you keep getting up and you keep moving forward. You know that there's going to be effort and you're going to have to develop new skills. You're going to find inspiration from others' success and go, wow, they did it. I can do it too. You're going to embrace the challenges and learn from them. You're going to accept criticism, because I always ask people in Balloon Boss Mastermind when they show a picture or my open Facebook groups, I'm like, hey, you put up a picture and you ask for feedback. Do you really want it? Because I'm not going to sugarcoat and go, ooh, that's pretty, when the colors don't blend well or when it doesn't make sense how your sizing is. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, hey, here are some things that you can do next time to make it look better. And what's great is when I give that constructive criticism, I've seen people take a design, take it apart, put it back together correctly, and make a huge transformation from learning, because we don't know what we don't know. So embracing when people give us criticism, knowing that we can learn from it. We have a desire to learn if we have a growth mindset, and we build our abilities. All right. So think about which one you are naturally. You don't have to say it in the chat, but I want you to think about it, that right now, are you a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, or is it kind of a mix? All right. And if you find that you lean towards the side of being a fixed mindset, I'm going to encourage you. I am going to share with you in 2023, the number one thing you can do for your business growth is to fix your mindset and choose to go for the growth side. And it's a step process, all right? Not everything's going to come naturally to you. So as we go over this list, if there's something that really hits you as, ooh, that's an area I need to work on, type on it. And I'd love for you guys to share if there's one of these that you're like, oh, I need to work on this in 2023, right? So persevere in the face of failures. John Maxwell is one of my mentors as a speaker. I went through speaker training with him, and he's written a ton of books on business. I've been on a board for years of a local event that happens where John Maxwell talks about leadership and stepping into your role of leader. And one of the number one things he talks about is that so many times people think that success is the opposite of failure, and it's not. Our successes move us forward because we fall forward. When something happens and we fall down, we pick ourselves back up and keep moving forward, learning from that experience. So many times people in mastermind tell me, oh, Joette, I'm afraid to do that thing that you've asked me to do, like making phone calls or going to a networking event, because what happens if I say the wrong thing? What happens if the other person says no? And I'm like, well, you just pick yourself up and you go again. We learn by doing. All right. So continue to be, persevere and keep moving forward. Effort is required to build new skills. We use the Canva templates in Mastermind to be able to have editable pricing guides so our clients can see what we do and buy from us quickly. And one of the number one things I hear from people is, Joette, I'm not computer smart. I'm tech challenged. Well, you know what? Right there in the words that you're using, you're setting yourself up for there to be resistance to learning something new. So this is something I struggle with often. So we always say we teach what we need to learn, right? So a way to reframe that is to see how powerful our words are. And if we are trying to do a new skill that in the past has been difficult for us, we can acknowledge it. Yeah, in the past, I've had difficulty learning new things on a computer. But instead, for 2003, you can say, I will learn how to edit my pricing guides in Canva. I am wise. I am smart. I surround myself by other people who can teach me new skills. I can learn new things. All right. So those are the things to put in your notes. If you're out doing something else, one of the most powerful tools you can do for yourself in 2023 is write statements down that I will learn, I will grow, I will surround myself with people who can help me. And know that over this next year, you will learn new things and other skills will become quicker and easier for you with practice. All right. Find inspiration in other successes. Guys, this is one of the number one reasons I put on Balloon Boss Summit and Balloon Boss Mastermind is to allow you to be around other people who are having success in the industry. And for you to understand that when you sit at a meal with our instructors that, hey, Scott DeLorenzo, Balloons by Tommy, cool guy. He's not any different than me, other than that he took action on the things that he thought about and that he learned about in school, and he's doing it over and over and over again. And he's shared the systems with me that work, and all I have to do is duplicate what he just did, and I can do it. So when we see other people being successful, if we're like, wow, that person's successful, this is the steps they did to do it, I can do it too. All right. So that is empowering when we realize that we can do what others have done. Embrace challenges. Ooh, challenges are not fun. Challenges are scary. But when we look at every challenge we face as a learning tool, it changes our world. And for those of you who don't know me a long time, when I started Balloon Coach back in 2015, my husband had health challenges. He spent a lot of time in the hospital for kidney stones that had to have surgery on, for heart issues. And I would hear from people, hey, Joette, how do you stay so positive in the midst of these challenges? And I'm like, well, I've got two options. I can either be really bummed out that I'm having to stay at the hospital and that he's having health challenges and I can be freaked out and scared, or I can be active in what's going on. I can be a healthcare advocate for him. I can get support of other people to pray for us, to tell us what they've gone through and help me make educated decisions. And I can be present in the moment and just do the best that I can. And so I choose that in those situations where many people would be fearful or break down, that instead I use that as a learning tool and to give the best care to my husband I possibly can. And part of that is me staying upbeat and taking care of my business, even when I had to do it from his hospital room. And everyone faces challenge. And when we think, oh, it's all me, everything's always happening to me, it's always negative. Well, you know what? There might be some lessons that you can learn in those challenges that are going to help you be more perseverant and being able to focus on the things that you need to do in the future. So accept criticism. Dude, I know we don't like to hear what's bad. I know it can feel like it's a personal attack. But if instead, when somebody says, hey, this thing that you're doing, if you change these couple of things, it might work better or look better, take that as it's not a personal attack. It's just learning how to do something else in a different way that'll give you better results. Desire to learn. Wow, there's so much out there in the world that we can learn. And if you are just open to it and pick one thing at a time, just the way that when we learn one thing here and it'll apply to other things, it can just be fantastic. And then build your abilities. So what I've done is I had wanted you to look at this list, and I want you to acknowledge and celebrate the things that you have done. So right now, for those of you who are on with me live, and those of you who are watching this at replay, you can always email me, joette@ballooncoach.com. I wanted you to think about the last year, all right? When you look at this list, what is a yay me? What is something that you did? Did you persevere in the face of failure? Like, did you try to do a balloon arch and it fell down? Did you work on a marketing plan and there were crickets? Did you have a situation where there were challenges after challenges and you just kept going forward? Was there a time where you stepped out and you learned something new? Right now, I'd love for you in the chat just to give yourself credit for something that you did in the last year, right? Of one of these things that shows that you have the skill of growth mindset, that you either learned something, that you built a new ability, that you persevered in the middle of failure. I'd love for you guys to chat in one thing you did this last year to give yourself kudos. And for those of you who are taking notes, I want you to understand that as you go through the growth of your business and taking the next step, giving yourself a pat on the back, celebrating the things that you've done well, it's not being boastful. What it's doing, it's helping build momentum for you to keep moving forward. So you guys are all being quiet. I would love for you to give yourself one thing that you did in the last year. Yay! I learned the basics of 17 hats thanks to some friends at Summit. Awesome. I love that. All right. So now you all can feel better. Persevered during the slow days and attended a conference. That's awesome. I love it. Hired someone to build and manage my website. Excellent. Love these. These are great. So as you go through growing your business, every day when you wake up, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. This is by Henry Ford. It is a quote that my mastermind members hear me say. Sometimes it feels like weekly, right? Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And that's why I talk so much about the growth mindset or positive mindset, is that believe in your heart you have the ability to learn new things, and you will. Believe that you can grow your business to the level you want, and you will. It may take time, but you will. I love it. Other testimonies. Went to Summit and opening a new location with a new focus in January. I cannot wait to see the photos of your new place. That is so exciting. So how do you get out of the rut? So right now, let me know, like, are you in a rut? Do you feel like you are not moving as fast as you want to go? Like, are you totally stuck? Like, are we talking about, you're in the ditch, the mud is over your tires, all right? Or are you like, I'm on kind of cruise control, but I want to go higher? Where are you right now? I want to know, to the people that I'm speaking to live, where are you at right now, so that I can make sure that as I go through the training, I get to the right spot. So are you kind of on cruise control and you're wanting to be able to speed things up? Are you totally stuck? Where are you feeling today? So moving slowly by choice. Oh my gosh, I love that. That is so important. It is okay to run slowly. Not everybody has to take off like a rocket ship. All right. We all get to choose where we're doing it and how we're doing it. I love it. One is running with a parachute on. Yeah, they always say, right? Just go and leap and you'll grow your wings on the way down. So I love it. Running with a parachute on. Excellent. All right. So here's how we're going to get out of a rut. If you're one of those people who's super stuck right now, is evaluate your situation, focus on your well-being, get out of your comfort zone, look for a change of scenery, practice gratitude, set small goals, spend time with loved ones, and talk to a mental health professional if needed. Now, we're going to go through each one of those. So if you didn't catch it, we're all good. All right. So evaluate your situation. This is the number one thing for you to write down. Evaluate your situation. Where are you now and where do you want to go? Remember, we talked about writing that flight plan. All right. So what is your situation currently? Where are you at? Like, knowing your numbers. We talk about this all the time in Balloon Boss Mastermind, for those of you who are mastermind members. And for those of you who are not, we have what's called a Thrive Guide. And it's a monthly check-in on the first Monday of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern, where I say, hey, what were your numbers from last month? What were your total sales? What were your total amount of events? And how much of that money did you put in your pocket, right? Those are the top things. And now, of course, you can break it down even to and more things, but you have to look back at what you did to be able to make your plan of where you want to move forward. And if you don't evaluate those numbers, you may be like, oh, wow, I did $100,000 in sales. Okay, but what were your expenses? Were your expenses 120,000? So you're actually in the whole 20,000? Or how much money were you actually able to pay yourself and be able to get back from your business? So if we don't evaluate those things, we're not going to be able to move forward being more profitable if we're not able to crunch those numbers. So we talk about that a lot. The other part is just evaluating how you feel, like being honest, like, you know what? I don't really want to get out of bed and do my job anymore. I don't enjoy it. Or the things that I liked about being a balloon business owner that I thought I would like, I don't like so much because there's all these other tasks that I'm supposed to do that I didn't realize that I was going to have to do. All right, because that was a huge thing for me as a business owner, wanted to do the walk into a space, create a beautiful environment with balloons, but didn't want to really do all the paperwork. All right, so we have to choose to look at those situations every month, and then from time to time, we're going to have to maybe ask for some help along the way. So as you're writing your plan and you're creating your flight plan for 23, really look back and do that assessment of what you did last year. All right. All right. So number 2, focus on your well-being. It is way too easy as a business owner to put everyone else first. And for those of you who are on this call that are a parent, we often put our kids first, or our spouse first, or our partner first. If we are a caregiver for an older family member, like our parents are aging and they're living with us, or we're going to take care of them, we have all these hats that we're wearing, all these things that we do that we forget to take care of ourselves. And so, speaking from personal experience, a couple of years ago, I stepped up and I took the action to get rid of 100 pounds off of my body so that my knees could feel better, I could be healthier, and then I could have more energy. But you know what? This last year, I gained a lot of that weight back. And what I found at the end of the year is I felt sluggish. I was not as energetic as I used to be, and I knew that something was wrong. So I had to look at my well-being and like, ooh, Joette, it's time for you to have a health coach. And it's for you to change, because I didn't love going to the gym. I liked some of the results from the gym, but I didn't love that atmosphere. And so I reached out to a friend. I found out about Pilates, and I now have a Pilates instructor I go to twice a week. And it changed how I start my day. It changed my energy level, and it reminded me to focus back on eating good stuff. Now, am I perfect with that yet? No, it's the holidays. But what I am realizing is I'm drinking more water. That gives me hydration for my body, right? When I get up early in the day, I get more things done. So what I want you to look at is, what do you need to fill your tank? Is it that you need to eat better food and on a regular basis? Is it that you need to put more water into your day? Is it that you need just some me time to just have 15 minutes of quiet? And how do you find that, right? So is it that you need to go to the doctor because you have some real medical issues that need to be taken care of that you've been putting off, like in a need of surgery? I know several people in Mastermind this year have had like hip replacements or knee replacements or done other medical things that they've been putting off to the side for a lot. So sometimes we're in a rut. Part of it is that we forget to take care of ourselves, and we have to fill our tank first to be able to keep moving forward. If we don't have the engine checked and the oil changed, the car's not going to run as efficiently, right? So you are the business owner. You got to take care of you. So I talk a lot more about this in our Thrive Guide, but I want to make sure you look at what's that thing that you need to do to take care of you. All right, number 3, get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. Confidence comes from doing new things. So on a personal level, it might be that you like, I don't have as much energy as I used to be, and I'm not as excited about my life as I was. So it might be time to find a new hobby. Maybe check out dance classes locally if you like to dance, or a Zumba class, or maybe you want to go to a pottery place and make pottery, or do an art class. So many times people are like, oh, well, I use balloons as my creative outlet. But when that becomes your job, and especially when that becomes your full-time career, Um, Now we don't have that other creative outlet that's not attached to money and income. So I encourage you, if you don't have a hobby, something that you do outside of balloons that brings you joy and is something that puts a smile on your face, is to maybe step out of your comfort zone this year and do something that you enjoy. And then the second part of out of your comfort zone is when in Balloon Boss Mastermind or all my other trainings, if you're not in my programs yet, when I ask you to do something like go to a networking event, or when I ask you to send out a newsletter, or when I ask you to pick up the phone and talk to a past client, if your automatic thought is, ooh, I don't want to do that, I'm not comfortable with that, is challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone and try something new. Because there's a reason I share those systems with you, is because they're proven to work over and over again. And every time I see people in our mastermind program doing the things that they don't want to do, it's typically when they see the most success. So, reminder that confidence comes from getting out of your comfort zone. And sometimes that's about taking care of yourself also, whether it's taking a cooking class or going out and hiring somebody to help you with your fitness. All right. The next thing on to get out of your rut is look for a change of scenery. You have such a busy life as a balloon business owner. You're getting pulled in a bunch of different directions from your business, your clients, but then also all of the other things that you have to do to run your household and your family, right? So sometimes we just have to get up and go for a walk. It could be so simple as even walking around your house if it's cold and snowy and you don't want to go outside. All right. Just going to another room and sitting and looking out a different window to have a different perspective can help. It might be that in your space you need to put new artwork. This Dream Big came as a new thing last year. And then I have just done these two ribbon racks. I just added those because it was part of my goal for this next year, is to give you guys in Mastermind more images and training on centerpieces and ways to add ribbon for that extra pizzazz. And so for me, that changed my perspective when I went from having 3 bins of all the ribbon that we use at Summit to having it up. I can now see it. It's organized, it's pretty, it's colorful, and it gives me joy as I walk in. It's something new in my office to make me excited about being in here. It might be that you put new artwork on the wall. It might be that you get a fresh coat of paint in the area that you work in. It may be that you just need a new office chair or a new table or a new little credenza or something. So I want to encourage you guys that sometimes just having a little bit of a change of scenery, either adjusting or organizing where you work or taking a break and going out and seeing something else, will help get you out of that rut. All right, practice gratitude. For those of you who are online, I'd love for you to type and let me know if you do a journal. Like, do you do a daily gratitude journal? Do you do it once a week? Have you never done a gratitude journal and it's something you'll want to try, or just not interested? So, gratitude journal. If you currently practice this, I'd love for you to share, like, oh, I've done it in the past, but only lasted a couple of weeks, or I do it every day. I would love to know. All right, so practice gratitude. When I read books from top people who have had successes in growing businesses, one of the things that all of them ring true is that there's a morning routine, that they get up in the morning and they do certain things. And they always say, get up earlier so you can be more productive. So if you have small children in your home, this often is something that is great, because when you get up earlier, they're still asleep. And so you can get that extra 15 minutes or 30 minutes in your day. And for some people, they don't do the gratitude journal first thing in the morning because it is a busy, chaotic schedule. So it might be something that happens at lunchtime or something that happens at night as you're wind down before you go to bed. But what they say is, when you start your day with gratitude, I am thankful for amazing friends in the balloon industry who inspire me and help me take the next step in my business. When I acknowledge that, wow, that's really cool that I have that. I am grateful that I have the economic ability to be able to go and travel and see friends when I want. I am grateful that I woke up in a house today that has extra blankets for when it's cold. I am grateful that I live in a house with running water and electricity. I mean, you can take it to any level. But what happens is we realize that, oh, there are good things happening in our life. There is something to be grateful for. And now other cool things can come into our lives too. And so when we focus on that positive thing in the morning versus, oh man, I don't want to get out of bed today, it's cold outside. But instead, I can go, wow, I'm grateful that I've got long sleeve clothes and warm slippers that I can wear on a cold day. Using that gratitude journal can totally change your perspective on things. So thank you, Diana Gladden, for being one of the main mentors for me for using gratitude journals. It makes a huge difference in my life. Another way to get out of the rut is to start with small goals. So SMART goals don't have to be huge. They can be small, all right? But for anyone who hasn't used the SMART goal formula before, you have, but you forgot what they stand for. S means specific. M means measurable. A means achievable. R is realistic, and T is timely. And so what we're going to do is later on, we'll go through some of these. And if you've got something that you're working on, I'll be glad to help you if you want to share and help you set this up for it. But a specific goal is, I am going to move my body 3 times a week in the morning before 8 a.m. All right. Measurable, I said that it was 3 times. Achievable, I can do 3 times. If I promise myself 7, they may not happen. All right. Realistic, it is realistic to move my body 3 times a week before 8 a.m. And then timely, I'm saying how often I want to do it. And I could say that I'm going to do that for the month of January. All right. So when you're doing things, you want to set it up where you're not being unrealistic. Because like a lot of times when people have health goals, they're going to go, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. And like that's too much. If you've been sitting on the couch for the last year, thinking you're going to go do something 7 days a week is too much. But if we sprinkle it in where we make it realistic and make it a certain amount of time a day. So in the balloon business, I am going to daily call one past client that I've worked with to let them know about my current services, see how I can help them out, and ask for a referral. All right. We're saying 1 a day, or it might be say every Monday, I will call 1 client. Start with that. And then when you feel comfortable with it, move it to, I'm going to call 5 people a day. And then after you hit that, then it might be 10 people a day, because sales is all about volume. So to make it specific, I'm going to call 1 client that I've worked with in the past every day, Monday through Friday by 11 a.m. All right. And I have a tracking sheet in the Thrive Guide where you can track how many of those that you can do it, or you can make it in your notebook. But by setting it as a lower number, you make it achievable and realistic. And by setting that deadline of, hey, I'm going to do it for the month of January, or, for that first quarter, totally up to you. Any questions on SMART goals? All right. So you can take anything big you've been thinking about and break it down into a smaller piece. So let's say you're wanting to earn $100,000 in sales for 2023. Well, you can break that down into quarterly and monthly and weekly goals so that you can see it easier. So I'm just going to do that example real quick with my calculator, because I do need a calculator to help me with math. All right. So if we're saying we're going to do $100,000 a year, we're going to divide that by 12. That makes it $8,333 a month. And then I'm going to divide it by the average of 4 weeks. So I am going to do $2,083 in sales per week. All right. And then to break that down even smaller, I can go, okay, I typically have an average order of $250. So I'm going to say, and it's 8.33. So I'm going to say, I am going to obtain 9 $250 clients per week. And then I can break it down of how am I going to find those 9 people? So when you have those big money goals that can kind of seem overwhelming, when we break it down to monthly or weekly amounts, it makes it feel more manageable, And then we can take those action steps of how am I going to get in front of those people. All right, so any questions on the SMART goals? The other part of getting out of a rut is to spend time with your loved ones. All right, this is my family. At Thanksgiving, we went out for a fun dinner. Not pictured in here is also Marley's boyfriend. We had a great time. For Christmas Eve, we had a fun time where we hung out together. And then my husband and I got in a car and we drove to see a friend of mine in Georgia, a friend of my husband grew up with. And that was so fun, just sitting around a table with their kids, their family, playing games and just talking and sharing stories, sitting on the couch and doing nothing, and watching a movie together, just having time with people that you care about. Sometimes we've got to do that and take that break rather than just feeling like we have to work all the time. When we get that energy from being around the people we care about, it's going to go into our business because we're going to be happier people. So I want to know, what questions do you guys have? For those of you who are on live with me today, thank you for joining me live. What questions do you have so far about anything that I've talked about? Open up your mic or type it in the chat. There is no bad questions. So if you have a question about any of the steps I talked about, just ask. And everybody's being quiet today. All right. So again, if you have a question as I continue on, you can go ahead and just interrupt. That is totally fine. But I want to just remind you that so many times people tell me that they have a fear of failure. All right. And that fear stands in their way. So I want you to kind of look at, what are you fearful of? You know, like, is there something that you're afraid of being, looking silly, hearing the word no, rejection, that your work's not good enough? What is that thing that's standing in your way of moving forward? All right. And then take the steps to get out of your own way and face that fear. So similar to what we were talking about earlier, acknowledge what that thing is. Focus on those end results that you want to have happen. And so I talk about vision boards a lot. We're going to be doing a workshop on vision boards on January 1st. We also have many replays about vision boards in our Balloon Boss Mastermind program. Seek out the support and training to help improve your skills and your confidence. If you're fearful of doing something, like if you're fearful of making phone calls, then get sales training and go read the script in Mastermind and then use that script. Do the thing you fear. Make the phone call and find out that they're not going to bite your head off. Maybe they hang up the phone, but that's okay. Move on to the next person who's going to talk to you. And then evaluate how it went, learn from that process, and do it again. That's the other thing about overcoming fear and business building, is it's about repeating and doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's not glamorous, but it works. So acknowledge when you've put up those roadblocks, when you're getting in your own way, and then focus on the results you want for the future. And I talk about those vision board workshops, because as a creative person, when we put it down on paper, we typically can relate to it better than just a list of written goals, when we can see what it is we want for the future. So example, last year, one of the things that I knew I wanted is I wanted to paint the outside of our house and get new windows to make us more economically better on our heating and electric bill, air conditioning basically, and that sound from outside. And I wanted to have that fresh look outside of our house. It had been a long time since our house had been replated, and it changed the way I feel, because now when I walk up to my house, I love the bright blue. I like sitting in our rocking chairs outside for lunch sometimes and taking a break from things, getting off the computer for a minute. So having those things on the vision board helped remind me of why I was working hard towards my goals. All right. Seek out the training and support you need to grow confidence. It's okay to ask for help. And then do those things that you're fearful, from doing a balloon drop at New Year's Eve this year, even if it's in your own home, to going out to an expo to show people what your balloons are. And again, you're always just going to go through that process of acknowledge where you're at, focus on the results that you want, seek out your support, do the thing you fear, and evaluate it and keep on moving forward. So don't let the fear of a no frighten you from going after a yes. All right. Be strong, be beautiful, and be you. And I want you to embrace that 2023 is your time to soar. You get to choose the altitude, you get to choose the size of the plane, and you get to choose how far you go. But write down that plan, put that vision on paper and how you're going to feel when that goal is accomplished, whether it's that I need to hire new people, that I need to find a space to work in my business because it's overwhelming in my household and for my family. Whatever those steps are, those things that you need, write it down. And then when you need help, ask for it. You may need somebody to do your bookkeeping. You may need somebody to make the phone calls or the emails for you. It's okay to have a time to help you. And if you need that ongoing support, join us in Balloon Boss Mastermind in our coaching calls, in our online forum, and say, hey, I need help. What do I do? All right. And then I would love for you to join us at Balloon Boss Summit. If you've not set up to do that yet, you can do that at BalloonCoach.com. All right. So what I'm going to do is read a couple of the comments that are on. I was fearful of the thought of me wanting to do this business full time. I've taken the necessary steps to see if it's possible. Contacted accounting to set up an appointment to review new financials. Awesome. Congratulations. If you work a full-time job outside of balloons and you're wanting balloons to become your career full-time, knowing those numbers and looking at it and crunching them is so important. And then looking at how much money you currently make. And remember that it's not just about the money that you make at the job, but it's also, do you have benefits? Do you have a 401k? Do you get paid sick time and vacation time? You want to take all those things into consideration if you're wanting to continue that as you're growing your business. So another person just onboarded having a bookkeeper. Congratulations. I love it. So guys, bottom line is to look at having that growth mindset. It's to surround yourself by people who will help kick you in the booty when you need it, but you have to ask for help, right? And if you're one of those people who's really struggling, I also want to make sure that you understand that there's no harm in asking for mental health help. A lot of people need counseling to even do the transition from the times when we were in our secluded offices or homes and then going out into the world after all of the shutdowns. There are still people who struggle with that. And if you're one of those people, reach out for help in making that transition. There is no shame in that whatsoever. It will help you take the next step. All right. And then if you're not in my Balloon Boss Mastermind program yet, I would love for you to join us. You can always ask questions at Joette@BalloonCoach.com, and I'll be glad to show you around the dashboard. All right, so are there any other questions before I turn off the recording? For anybody watching this as a replay, I want to remind you that every month I have 4 live trainings for my Balloon Boss Mastermind program. And at every single one of the things that we do is at the end, we turn off the recording, we open up our picture so that we can feel like we're in the room together, and we brainstorm and we ask questions and help mastermind each other to solutions to keep moving forward. And that's one of the things people really like, is that connectedness of knowing that there are other people going through the same things. So I don't see any other questions coming up now. So what I'm going to do is stop the recording. And again, if you have other questions, you can always email me, Joette@BalloonCoach.com, if you're watching the replay. Hey guys, I wanted to show you, for those of you watching, are you guys seeing my dashboard now for Mastermind? All right, so when you look at it, it has a new look now. The Thrive Guide is how you write down your goals and kind of put the things that you're wanting to go after and work at. The Start Here, a lot of times people forget to go back into Start Here to look at business development and kind of what those next stages are. So one of the things that we have is in the success path is you can look at, okay, what's possibly that next step for me to do, and being able to define that. So that worksheet is there for you. So again, we sometimes forget, that those things are there. And then the foundations of your business building. Sometimes we forget that this is here. And so kind of checking out, where you're at and where you want to go. So look at these things and like, ooh, are these some of these things that I'm missing, right? What are these things that I could actually work on? So you can actually print these out and then check it out and see what it is that next step is for you. So I always like to remind people that in the start here has foundation things for you guys on that. And then within the dashboard also under masterclass. And as you guys go through it, if you check off that you've completed it, that way you know what you've watched. And then you can always go back and see it again. But it just helps you out. With the masterclass, one of the things that I'm always encouraging people to do is really look at, like, when you're doing your SMART goals, what is the stuff you already have on your shelves? So if you have a lot of birthday stuff, then go ahead and mark it to birthdays, right? Or at least do that once a week, because birthdays always happen. And then when you're going into like the newsletter, one thing that people often get hung up on is thinking, oh, I've got to do this huge promotion for Valentine's Day. Not if you don't want to do Valentine's Day promotions. I never did the individual delivery of here's your Valentine's Day bouquet, ever. All I did is I focused on the larger events. Like I said, that I could take like 300 helium balloons to a dance or some arches in a column. So don't feel like you have to pigeon yourself into spending a ton of time for any one holiday. But instead look at where is that reoccurring revenue. And so the number one thing is to look at what you did last year. So we did a new thing that I'll pull up for you just a second. But I just wanted to make sure you guys know that as you look at things, it's going to look a little bit differently now, but the masterclass is still the same 9 steps that we always do, which is go ahead and get out of something in Canva, whatever your top things are you're wanting to sell on a regular basis, make it. It doesn't have to be a specific color for a specific school. It can just be an item, right? But just pick one and have at least your base pricing for people for the things that you feel like you get the calls about the most or that you want to do the most. And then for your newsletter, throwing that out there so that all the people you've worked with in the past or the people that you have emails for know what's coming up. And so one of the things that I just want to show you guys.
Did it? I think there's stuff done
is that if you're wanting to focus like on baby showers, you can grab that, or birthdays. I'm sorry, there's something going on.
Yeah, play with it.
All right. So, sorry guys, I went the other direction, but like Common Decor has like the most general things that can go for anyone. And in today's world, I'm seeing a lot of people that are wanting to go where they can show them like, here's the classic and here is the organic. So I just want to make sure you guys know that this here. So when you have something that's an easy one like this, it can kind of give you the basics that can be used in multiple places, because it can be a corporate event, it can be a birthday, it can be a school, by being able to show them like, here's the base columns and here's the organic, here's the columns, here's the organic and the hoop. So by being able to use some of these items that are typically done over and over again, it gives you a wider range rather than just pigeoning you into having to have a specific theme. So I just want to show you that sometimes that is helpful, having something that's more of that common thing that can be then changed up to everybody. And don't feel like you have to sit there and color code it for everyone. You can just put color combinations, can be off of our color list. All right. And then I did set up the marketing calendar for you guys. If you haven't seen it, I will repost it in Mastermind. That kind of helps you, like in January, what am I doing to plan for the next 3 months out? And that reminder that the top thing to do is look at anybody you've worked with in the past for January, February, and March, and get a hold of those people. that is your number one priority, is to go back and talk to the people that you've worked with in the past. But as far as like feeling like you're going to miss the boat, if you're in a rhythm where you really love working with colleges and corporate accounts, then it's checking in on who's doing grand openings, who's got events coming up, and it is never too early to start planning for your graduation season and to dabble that out. So in the marketing calendar that I gave Mastermind that you can load on Google, it tells you every single day of the week. Here's a little nugget of what you can do. Reaching out to past clients. Don't forget about birthdays, right? And so you can kind of just go through that and make 10 minutes of your day to do that thing. And don't make it hard. It can just be a simple post of something that you've done in the past. Make Johnny's birthday special. Order today. Keep it simple. Tiffany, you got your hand up. Do you have a question or comment?
Hey, Joette, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, right. Well, I just wanted to say thank you to you and the others that commented on my post on Facebook.
So one of the things when you're doing marketing throughout the year and you're trying to get information out, things that you would typically like maybe use a business card for or leave a pamphlet for, sometimes thinking outside of that, there's a website called BalloonTags.com. And Mindy, who is one of our mastermind members and then was an instructor for us, she had built a relationship with this company that was doing it primarily for schools, and then has now made this size for us that looks like a balloon. So you can actually have these tags made, and then on the back side of it have your either the URL to your website, or like here, it's got the QR code that when they click that, it's going to take them directly to the website. Example, if you were at a wedding fair and you just want them to go directly to the wedding album, you can make that tag where your QR code takes them right to the bridal page. Or if you're doing it that you're at a school event, you really want to get people to go to birthdays, it could go straight to that page, or it can just go directly to your website. But it just gives you a different trinket to use that is not the typical business card, so people are a little bit more likely to hold on to it. The other thing is if you even just have the card that you hold yourself, and that's BalloonTags.com. The other thing that I wanted to show you is stop the share. Is just by having them, it's nice because it's a little bit of a different shape. And so it's just something fun, and it's laminated so they hold on to it, doesn't get messed up if it's wet. And sometimes people will actually even put this onto a keychain holder or a rubber band or something, but often people will hold on to an item like this that's a little bit different than what they're normally getting at a networking event. But I always say you want to get them to go to your website so that they are seeing everything that you do. And then within the website, that's where you would put up like your pricing guide. So the editable templates that we do in Canva, you can then have a page that's like pricing, and then it has those different guides. And if you're doing it under galleries, it could be like all the pricing for your columns and then all the ones for your arches or organic designs, so that they see some of that information up front. Or if you use a customer management system, like some people are using Dubsado, 17 Hats, All Pro Web Tools, a way for that automated email as people fill out your contact form is then you can then have that automation email them the different pricing guides to help them make their selection.
Okay.